If you ever thought about getting paid to speak, you've come to the right place. If you combine what you learn in the rest of this channel with the business of speaking, which is what this section is about, you can earn big bucks from corporations, associations, civic groups, and public seminars. I'm even going to show you how to make a fortune speaking at fundraisers. But right now, I'll warm you up with some miscellaneous tips that will help you get those speaking jobs. I've got a great technique for you that I call the regurgitation technique. This is a technique that will help you close many more deals than you have been closing. What it is when you are listening to a meeting planner or a person hiring you to speak or a prospect that may want you to speak, this is what you do. I want you to listen very, very carefully for exact words that they're using. And then write them down, and you will use them in your promotional materials that you send to them or put on your website. Here's how it works. Let's say someone was calling me interested in a program for their employees. And they said, Tom, gee whiz, we're having a lot of morale problems here, and I'm feverishly writing morale. And we need a program that's going to create a lot of excitement in our company. I'm writing excitement. Ooh. What I do is on another video, you saw a thing called a shell technique, and you saw a one-sheet technique where on my computer, there's bulleted items along with my programs to tell the meeting planner what the attendees will get. Well, I go into the computer and I adjust the generic bullet points and put in a custom one based on what they had told you. So I might go into my computer and change one of the bullet points to, this program is full of excitement and is great for morale in your company. And then I print that out on a shell, either send it to them, fax it to them, or I could even adjust my website for that bullet point to be on it and direct them to go look at it on my website. Well, when they get there, they say, wow, this is exactly what we wanted. You're the man to speak to us. So that's called the regurgitation technique. Listen closely. When people are talking, write down the words that they use and give them back to them in their promotional materials. I'm going to give you a tip now on how to sell when you aren't allowed to sell. See, many places you speak do not allow you to sell products or your services or do anything out of the ordinary other than just speak. So here's a way to do it so that no one will get mad at you. First of all, make sure your introduction includes something that you would like to sell, but do it in a way that it doesn't look like you're trying to sell. So your introduction could have a line, so-and-so is the author of How to Sell More Plumbing Supplies with Less Trouble, or anything that applies to whoever you're speaking to. So that's the first way to get a subtle clue in that you do have something for sale. The next thing is very subtle name dropping. So you could say, when I was working in our mentor program with Joe Schmo, so Joe Schmo doesn't need to be anybody important. It just means that you were able to drop in the word mentor program, that's something that you sell, and you're using whatever you were doing as an example. So as long as you don't get wild and do that over and over and over again, there's a subtle way to drop in the fact that you have a mentor program. Now, case studies are a little more in-depth, where you would say, when I was working on a particular problem with so-and-so company, and you may not even be able to name the company, you may not want to name the company, but then you can go into in-depth a problem and what you did to fix it, which is just what the audience may need to bring you in to work on a similar problem so you can help fix it. So that's called a case study. Then giveaways are a great way also. See, you could have drawings where you gave away a copy of your book or your tape or your mentor program or something like that. You could hold drawings to get people's email addresses or their mailing addresses. Now, you do have to tell them what their information will be used for, but it's a good way to get it and give away your products so that people really get a feel for what they are. And here's a trick. This is an old-timer's trick. If somebody in the back row wins your product, you don't have them come up and get it unless you want to get a picture of it that might end up in the program. That's a good trick too. But you hand it to the person in the first row who hands it to the second row, to the third row, so they all get to touch it and they really want one before it gets to the back row. And then the other thing is if you have a handout, make sure you have some promotional materials in your handout. Make sure it's cleared with your meeting planner. But if it's just a bio sheet that name drops the mentor program, the books that you've written, and so forth, you won't get in trouble for selling when you're not allowed to sell. There's some great tricks for you. Folks, I'm going to give you the tips to sell a fortune at the back of the room. Now, this is when you are allowed to sell at the back of the room, and sometimes you are expected to sell at the back of the room. In fact, if you're no good at selling at the back of the room, you'll never be invited to some events. Some events, I'm perfectly willing to pay my own way to get there, but I can sell a fortune at the back of the room. And they want me to sell a fortune at the back of the room because the money is split with the organizer of the event. So if I'm no good at selling at the back of the room, I will not be invited back to this event. Now, here's some of the techniques you use to sell at the back of the room. One is called limited supply. You might say something like, I only brought 3 cases with me today. And there might be 1,100 people there, and they don't know there's 900 in a case, so it doesn't make any difference. But you want to limit the supply. There's only so many of these deals available, and you say it in a matter-of-fact way. We only have 3 cases available, and when they run out, they run out. The next thing is urgency. Limited supply creates a little bit of urgency, but when you create urgency from the stage, you might say, this is only good for today. This is only good during my session, or at the break right after my session. This is a special deal. You'll never see it again. Don't call me at the office and ask me for this deal. You need to make a decision now. That's urgency. They got to do it now to get the deal and because they might run out. These are the kinds of things that create what we call a table rush. People can literally get hurt running back to the back when you release them from stage. And I've seen this happen over and over again. Now, the next thing is pain. You want to create pain in the audience. You want to alert them to the fact that they are hurting in some fashion and you are the doctor. You are going to solve this pain by having your information. Unfortunately, you only have so much time on stage to help them with their pain. This is another urgency factor and limited supply. I can only be here on stage with you so long, so you need to get the books and tapes or whatever you're selling at the back of the room to help relieve the pain that you're in. Now, you also want to, during your presentation, create buy-in. This happens with questions to the audience. You might say, is anybody getting any value out of this? Give me a piece of value that you've got out of what I just said. And let them create the buy-in. Oh yeah, that idea you had on so-and-so was great. They will help create the buy-in in the rest of the audience in case they didn't notice how valuable your information was. So you create buy-in from the people in the audience. Another thing I use is I say, do you think you all will remember everything I said today and can go and explain it to the people that are going to implement it for you? And people are like deer in the headlights. Heck no, because I'm a high content speaker. Of course, we have a lot of fun, but there's no way that they can remember it, and they know it. I'm just reminding them of that fact. Now, bonuses also help create a table rush. and a lot of sales at the back of the room. So when you're there and you've got those hot prospects in front of you, bonus them to death. Give them extra, 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 extra. What you're trying to do is create a situation where the value that they get compared to the cost of what they'll pay is so far apart, the value is so high and the cost is so low, and all the extra bonuses that they'll get, that they feel that they would be crazy not to take advantage of your deal and take advantage of it right now. So a way to give a bonus that I use is I happen to have one of the largest e-zine or electronic magazine in the world in the professional speaking arena. So I give out classified ads in the e-zine as a bonus. And I tell them how that, gee, if you put the right offer in, I've got well over 100, almost 150,000 subscribers, that any little offer will more than pay for whatever you buy today. So that's a bonus that I can use with e-zines. Now you might give away digital files, free magazines, consulting, any number of things that you can give away as bonuses. So make sure you make that value to cost quite a bit different. Then be very careful on how you release them to make the deal. If you go for the standing ovation for your ego, you may cut out sales. What I do is I'm perfectly capable of developing a standing ovation pretty much anytime I want. But I forego that and forget the ego, and I put a time constraint on them, which adds to the urgency. So what I do at the end of the presentation, I might say, well, let's look at their watches here, folks. I'm getting ready to wrap up here a minute. And this deal that I was just telling you about is going to be good for 9 minutes from the time I release you from your seats. So I'm giving them the idea that I'm in charge of when they get up. So 9 minutes from now, I'm going to go directly to that table, and we have a bunch of helpers over there that can help you, so don't kill yourself. I'm actually laying the groundwork that they're going to rush back there. I'm telling them, don't get hurt, don't trip over anything, but they are going to rush when I release them. I say, I'm going to release you in just a minute here after I close, and for 9 minutes this deal is going to be good. Don't ask me any other time. So, and then I'll recap whatever we're trying to do. I'll recap the deal, and I'll say, thank you very much, folks. I'll see you in the back. 9 minutes to go. Let's do some business. Boom. And I'll go directly to the back. I won't stop and answer questions from people. I'll go directly to the back table and wait for the sales to come in.